Welcome to Procrastination and How to Get Yourself Organised. Let me unmute myself so you can actually hear me. There you go. Welcome again. My name is Dante. I'll be taking you through this ASBAS Digital Solutions Program on procrastination and trying to make a better life out of not doing the procrastination thing. You can get around it. It does take a little bit of commitment. It takes a little bit of discipline, but if you're not really a disciplined person, I've got a few tricks and tips along the way that are going to help you to get there. Let's share the screen and get it underway. Just a reminder too that the chat is open. This is a live session. You can let me know if there's something you want to ask in the chat window, and hi to Nerdy Girl Collector, as well as hi to Dee, Lisa, Mike, and the others who are just dropping into the call right now. You can ask a question in the Q&A as well, and I'll be able to hold that until I can take a break and answer that question for you. One of these days is none of these days. It's a bit of an old proverb. No one knows who said it first, but it's really clever. One of these days is not an answer because it ends up being none of these days. You'll never get that task done. What we're going to look into today, and not tomorrow, that's a bit of a procrastination joke there. What's probably behind your procrastination? Some techniques and a few strategies that can help you to overcome it or at least address it. We're going to look at the 4 key areas of breaking the habit. We're going to look at organizing your time and smashing the things in your life that are what we call time wasters. Might be a few people in your life that you call that as well. I've got a few. Bringing more organization into your day and setting priorities and learning to say the big no. No way. Talk to the hand. Move on, buddy. I'm not doing that work for you. This is brought to you by the Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program in conjunction with Regional Development Australia, Brisbane in Queensland, and Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory. You can find out this and more courses and more webinars like this, or even get access to one-to-one sessions with people like myself and other smart propeller head type people at businessstation.com.au. And if you do miss any of this today, you can see it on YouTube a little bit later on today. I'll be loading it up around about 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. And Business Station often get it up just a little bit earlier than I do as well. If you are watching on YouTube though, and you've got a question, please whack it in the comments below and I'll be able to address those as we get them come through and answer them online for you. My background is working in Facebook. I do a lot of work with Facebook's Boost with Facebook community and the Boost with Facebook program that goes around Australia and trains small businesses and not-for-profit organizations on how to get the best out of using the Facebook family of apps. Also do a very similar thing with Google with using their products and also training people on how to start businesses through the ASBAS program, the new business assistance with the new enterprise incentive scheme program for the Australian government. And I've done a whole lot of study up the top there, but I won't go into that too much because I'm just procrastinating on moving on with this particular presentation. So let's start with what's probably going on behind the symptom of procrastination, because procrastination is not a thing really. It's a symptom of something else that's going on. We don't say I'm not suffering from procrastination. It's not a disease. It's not an ailment. It's not a genetic issue that you're dealt with. It's a symptom. It's a behavior and a habit that comes from other things. And those other things can be a fear of failing in something that you don't think you're able to do. That one's certainly one that comes up a lot for me. A fear of giving up control of your day. There's nothing like having someone giving you a timetable and a calendar that tells you, oi, I like to control my own calendar, thank you much. You're not going to be taking over my life. It could be a lack of interest. Maybe you just have no interest in what it is that you've been given to do. And that's causing you to put it off and put it off and put it off. So you don't actually reach the potential of achieving that goal of not being a procrastinator. And the other one that's really, really common is overwhelm. That's been this week for me. I've been putting off a lot of things because I've just been overwhelmed with the sheer amount of stuff that's been coming into my inbox and that's been coming into my desk and coming into my phone. It's just, this week has told me that I need to hire a virtual assistant so I can hand over my phone and my inbox and say, can you handle all this and just get me the stuff I need to answer? Life has got to that point now. And you probably find that your life is going to be a combination of all of these. So how do they actually look in the real world? Well, fear of failure is usually caused by having very unrealistic expectations of what you're capable of doing or what you should be able to do. We often just go, oh, I need to be able to do this. I should be able to do this. I am woman, hear me roar. I can do so many things. I can multitask because I'm a mum or I'm a dad or I'm a Superman worker. The truth is that just feeds a fear of failure in you because you're expecting to be able to be a superhero when you're a human just like everyone else. Let's just say you're a salesperson, right? And your boss comes out and wants you to do some research on ebooks because they want to do ebooks as a part of their marketing strategy for the next couple of years, but they want to know what this thing is. Has it got legs? Is it a great idea? The problem is that you're not an experienced researcher. You're not used to stats. You're not used to doing, looking up, scholarly articles and looking up statistics across marketing and media and all that. So your fear of not doing this well because you're not experienced is going to cause you to pull it off. You're just going to put it off until, I'll look at that tomorrow. Oh, it's Friday. I'm going to look at that on Monday. You don't actually do the work that's been assigned to you because you don't feel like you're particularly good at this because you've not done it before. There's a little bit of imposter syndrome coming in there too, which is telling me, oh, my boss seems to think I'm capable of this. What have I done to make him think that, oh, I don't think I'm quite as good as I thought I was? So what happens is the symptom is that you push it off till tomorrow. The result is that you have to rush to get a bad job done. So even though you still have to get it done, you've just caused yourself a whole bunch of extra pain for no reason whatsoever because it was in your head that you're inexperienced. Oh, I've got a fear of failing on this, when the reality is that you just got to sit down and do the job and it will come to you. There's a reason why your boss or your client or whoever you deal with has come to you with this particular task is because they believe that you are completely capable of doing this. That's why they hired you. That's why they put you into their business as well. So if you rush in a bad job, the job's done poorly and you deliver a poor report. So that's the consequences of procrastination. Number one, you put yourself through a whole lot of unnecessary guilt and shame. Secondly, you do a poor job and you're probably going to deliver it late as well. So then you're painted as the person who is not just scared of doing a job, but you're also someone who delivers work late. You're unreliable. You don't really want to be that person. Then there's the fear of giving up control. This one, I thought when I came across it was like, oh, is that me? Is that really me? And then I remembered when somebody tried to book a work lunch into my next Friday when I already had 6 things booked over the morning and I just couldn't find a place for it. I hate it when someone comes in and books stuff for me in my calendar without asking or consulting. They just whack it on in there and expect that I'll be able to turn up to it because they want me to be there. That fear of giving up control is clearly a reason why I procrastinate. And quite often it is, I procrastinate on replying to them about that particular thing because I don't want to give them the benefit of going, yes, this is a good behavior to do. Just drop stuff in my calendar. Things like writing a budget, for instance. Now, budget, most of us hate them because it's control out of us. So we don't have control over that thing because we've not done a budget before and we don't want a budget telling us what to do. Like, who do you think you are? Budget? I'll spend whatever I want on whatever I want. I'm a business owner. So let's just pretend for a second though, that you're not a business owner. You're working in a company, right? You're writing a budget. And this particular budget for your specific department, your specific team, right? It's going to be discussed in the company budget meeting next week. So you've got until next Tuesday to produce what your particular team or department budget is. So you procrastinate. So you go, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I've got till Tuesday. I'll just do it Monday or something. I don't know, whatever. I'll go back to reading my book or listening to this podcast or, checking what's happening on Facebook. If your budget, though, isn't ready in time, you think that it won't be challenged and they'll just do what they did last year. But the reality is that they wouldn't have asked you for that budget if they didn't have a need for it. So the problem is that you're not really avoiding the idea of you having no control over your budget. You're actually delivering control to them on a silver platter because you're seen as being unreliable. If you can't be relied upon to do your own budget, they'll just say, okay, great. So you don't deserve to do your own budget. You've now lost control of your budget. The consequences of operating on that fear of giving up control and procrastinating for that are that the inevitable happens. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You've given up, your fear of giving up control causes you to have control taken away from you. Isn't that ironic? A lack of interest this is a big one for me, really, really big one, because half the things that go on my business bore me to tears, such as reconciling my books. Now, I've got to do a little bit of this for my bookkeeper on Friday. He's actually asked me to check on some items that are in my Xero accounts and see what they are, to go, that one doesn't match here. You've said that you put that through that account. It's not there. These money's dropped in. Where's it come from? So I've been procrastinating on this for weeks. Like, I just don't want to do it because it's just boring, and I don't want to have to look through bank statements and all that. The reality is it'd probably take me about 3/4 of an hour, 45 minutes to do this particular job. But I've been putting this off now for 3 weeks. He must have it done this weekend because he's got to do all my ASBAS stuff. So I've now put myself in a situation where I'm going to have to spend 3/4 of an hour, probably more close to an hour now, this weekend to actually do that work. So instead of Saturday of going off and going down to the wave pool and hanging out with my friends and having a couple of drinks and going out for lunch and maybe going for a drive to Litchfield National Park and enjoying it, I'm going to be sitting in my home office going over my bank accounts and my Xero account and reconciling stuff that I was asked by my bookkeeper to look at 3 weeks ago, and now it's worse than what it was then. The deadline won't be reached if I don't do it, which means there could be some tax consequences for that. I've got to do this now. I have not left myself a choice. I have to do it this weekend. So it's now inconveniencing my life when I could have actually taken this out at any point in my week in the last 3 weeks and just done the 45-minute job and got it out of the way and get the bookkeeper off my back. Instead, though, he's looking at me now as I'm the client who's a problem. So good on me for now being the problem client. The being overwhelmed thing is when you're a bit of a superhero. Remember, you can hear me now, Superwoman and Superman. You know exactly what I'm talking about, of being overwhelmed with, oh, I'm so busy. I've got too much work and there's too much going on. And the kids are acting up and my husband's on my back. And you have a big job, right, in your business, and there's a lot to do, and you haven't done all of this stuff before. Some of it's very new to you. So you're a little bit overwhelmed. So instead of starting to do it and just sitting down and going, all right, step one, let's get this thing started, you feel overwhelmed. And so you avoid it because you go, I can't deal with this. I'm going to go make a coffee. And all that does is make you fall further behind. Not addressing the overwhelm, not actually starting to work on some of the stuff that's in your overflowing inbox doesn't actually make it go away. It makes you feel better for walking away from a desk for about 5 minutes when you go and make that coffee or go and pull out the washing, or when you just go for a walk around the block. That's great. That's a fantastic way to clear your head, but it's not letting you get the work done. It's just making you fall further behind. You can see there's some real world consequences to procrastination. It's not a quirky, funny thing that we laugh at for that person in the office who's always running late for things and always running late for their submissions and always submitting their reports, at the very last minute, or cramming for their exams on the last night before they go and do them. There are real world repercussions that affect not just you, but they affect everybody around you as well. If you're working with a team, that affects you. If you're a business owner, this is particularly vital for you to get on top of, because this could wreck your business. If you're known as the unreliable deliverer of websites, then no one's going to want to buy a website from you. If you're known as the person who never gets back to people on their calls because you procrastinate on doing your callbacks, you're then the person who's not able to be reached. So don't bother trying to reach out and do something with them because they never call you back. You don't want to be that business. So it does come down to, I hate this word. It just reminds me of every dealing with my father as a 6 or 7 year old. I have to develop some self-discipline. We all have to do it. It's just horrific. I hate having to do this, but we do have to do it. And a lot of these things I've been able to overcome myself because I've just had to make it work, because if I don't, my business will collapse. So think about, when do you work best? What are the times of the day, or even the days of the week, where you seem to be able to just motor through the work? There's a pattern in there. We're humans. We are so predictable. Behavioral patterns are like clockwork. You can say that if how there's some people who just wake up on the dot of 6 o'clock every morning, and they wake up and they spring out of bed and they're ready to go to the gym and go for a run, and they've got all the energy in the world, and they don't even have to think about it. They don't even set an alarm. They just wake up and go to it. Those kind of people know that their energy levels are fantastic at 6 a.m. in the morning. That's not most of us. You can then divide your day up into 2-hour blocks to measure what is the effective time for you to get work done, particularly the work that is hard and complex and requires focus. Are you good with that in the morning, or is that something you do in your last hour of work in the day? Or are you like some people, you're a bit of a night owl, particularly in business? If you own the business yourself, you might be able to do that work late at night when the kids are in bed, the hubby's watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and you know, you've got some quiet, you've got some alone time, so you can actually catch up with that stuff you don't necessarily want to do, but you've got the brain space and the energy to be able to do it. Some people are night owls. I'm definitely not one of those people. So let's look at it in, say, a real world thing. This is my life, right? I'm an early morning guy. I'm very good with 5 a.m. starts. I wake up just before 5, usually about 4:45. Crazy, I know, right? But what it is I've got a ton of energy at that time in the morning. When I'm getting up at 4:45, I'm, showered and got ready, and I'm get everything ready to go. And I got my coffee ready to go. My housemate hates me, and I'm sitting down at my desk on the dot of 5 a.m. because I've got energy to burn. And that's when I get through all my emails, get through all the stuff that I don't like doing, the stuff that requires me to think and do some research, and then do stuff, all the customer contact stuff that doesn't come particularly naturally to me. That's the stuff I'm going to spend time at 5 a.m. doing. So between 5 and 7, I've got so much energy and I get through tons of work. Between 7 and 9 is when I start to swing myself around to projects, and the projects I'm meant to be working on. And the things that I'm really stuck on, I can't seem to get through easily. I do that between 7 and 9 because that's a great time for me with lots of energy. I'm focused, I'm still going hard, and I haven't yet had my morning tea break. Right? So that's coming at 9 a.m. So I'm like I'm very motivated to get everything in before I get everything done at 9 a.m. Because at 9 a.m., the energy starts to fade a little bit. This is when the phone calls start coming in. This is when I need to be more reactive to things that are happening. So 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., I'm doing all the proactive work that I want to do because that's what's requiring a lot of energy from me and a lot of thought and a lot of focus. But by 9 a.m., the phone calls start, the emails start, the reactive stuff like screaming for my attention starts. So what I've done is I've usually allocated that 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. as the time when I'm doing all that stuff in reaction to things coming in. That way I'm able to make sure that people are getting answered and the people are getting addressed and they're getting their questions attended to without me having to be worried about not being focused on the job at hand. Because that's then leading me up to lunch at about one-ish. Then I'm going to take a bit of a break and go, okay, I'm going to take a walk around the block. I'm going to make myself a sandwich, make another coffee, and then get ready for the afternoon. Now I've got all that reactive stuff out of the way. By the time I get to about 1:30-ish, that's when I've got energy to burn again. I've just had my blood sugar levels restocked. I've got everything, all the nasty stuff out of the way, so I can now spend time on the complex projects I'm doing. And as you can see, as I finish, I don't always work from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's not sustainable. Some days I do. This week I have been. But what I do is over the course of that afternoon into the evening, my energy levels fade. So I know, for instance, that I get my best work done at the red bits. 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and again from 1 to 3 because I've got lots of energy, got lots of motivation. So that's where I put all of my really complex, boring, hard stuff that I need to do in those zones because that's when I'm going to work the best. So instead of procrastinating, I've actually got a zone in my day that's designed specifically to get those things done. So as you can probably tell, I'm right in the middle of that 11 to, it's in my time here, it's 18 past 11. So I'm right in the middle of that area where I'm starting to reach the lower zone of my energy. It's starting to fade a little bit, but I'm still feeling pretty good because I just had some really good work I did very early this morning, which is driving me through. And I've got a lunch coming up at about 12:30 my time. So once I get to that, I'm kind of excited for that. And that's going to get me back into that 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. zone where I'm back on fire and I'm dealing with clients at this lunch. So I need to be quick, sharp, and all that sort of thing. So I know that I'm doing something I need to do that has a lot of energy in a time when I know I'm traditionally full of energy. Hope that makes sense to you. That's a really good way to split up your day. You work with high energy in the times when you need that energy to solve problems that you don't really want to solve because they're hard or they're complex or they're complicated in some way. Another one, which is probably easier said than done, but it really is a truth of its own, is to stop thinking about it and just get started. Now, this is a hard thing to do when you're working on your own in the business and you don't have someone to push you to do it. This is where your planning is important. So it's planning, but not over planning. Because what tends to happen is we tend to overthink complex things. If we've got a particularly hard project we're working on for a client, we want to sort of sit there and get into the planning of it and figure out what everything's going to work like and do, mitigate all the risks. But often we can love that planning stage and love that setup stage and all that strategy stage, but a lot of it can be done a lot quicker. We don't have to spend so much time planning and strategizing when all it's really doing is preventing us from getting started on the execution of that particular job. So we'll look at that and we finally got it ready to go. And then we go, okay, so I better get a second opinion on this. So you send it off to another department to get that opinion, or some other people who work like you work. And yeah, they can have a look at that and get some feedback back to me. And then you get that back and, oh yeah, I better adjust that. Yeah, that's good. Okay, send it off to someone else for another opinion. The problem is though, that inevitably we're downplaying our own ability to deliver this particular job. We give it away to over planning. We give it away to over opinionating from other people. And it comes back to us. We end up doing what we originally were planning to do anyway. All that extra planning and all that extra opinion seeking is just time wasted. It's not the stuff that's able to give you some great feedback. It's just slowing you down and preventing you from getting started. Now, this might be one of those things that stops you, or what your particular paralysis of analysis is that causes you to procrastinate. How to work out what yours is. You just look at what your patterns are. You measure. So Jackie's just asking here, how do you get to understand what is behind your own procrastination? And when you realize the underlying issues, how do you deal with it? Is it by just starting? That's where you start to put together those strategies. So if I go back a couple of screens, I'll give you an idea, right? So with the time working thing, I was tending to do things in the middle of the day when I've got no energy, or late in the day when I've got no energy. So what I would do is go, oh, I can't be bothered doing this. I'll just put it off to tomorrow. And then I put it off to the same time tomorrow, right? When I've got no energy, when I've got no motivation. So what I'm doing is almost self-sabotaging myself from getting that thing done, because I just want to avoid doing it. So by tracking the times when you work best, that's my pattern. That may not be yours. You may be really on top of the world in the middle of the day when I'm actually a little bit low, depending on what your particular rhythms, when you wake up, when you sleep, how much sleep you have, you'll stay that you just need to measure that. So for a week, set yourself a challenge and just go piece of paper on the side of you at the desk and just split it into 2-hour slots. And then just put down a message that says high energy, low energy, medium energy, and just check on yourself and go, okay, it's 9 a.m. How am I feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. I call up myself pretty energetic right now. Great. 9 a.m. is energetic. Then we go to 10 a.m. Yeah, still feeling energetic. 11 a.m. Oh, starting to feel a little bit, it's a bit harder to get things done. A bit low energy or maybe medium energy. Once you measure that, you'll know whether you're someone who suffers from procrastination as a result of you trying to do things in the wrong time of the day. But in your case, it might be something that's more like being overwhelmed. Are you someone who is very easily overwhelmed by lots of things coming in? If it is, there's some strategies we'll talk about that'll actually help you to overcome that. If yours is a lack of interest, you've got parts of your business that you don't actually enjoy doing, well, then that's a really easy one to fix, because for me, it's bookkeeping and accounts. I outsourced it. If it's writing, if it's producing the podcast that goes up to my podcast, I'm bored with that. I like to record it. I like to get it done. I like to get it out. And I've got someone else who does that for me now. Or it could be something like, I'm happy to sell the product for a business, but I don't want to have to deliver the product. Great. So I sell it and I hand it over to someone else to be able to deliver it. That's when you start to go outsourcing the things that you don't want to do. Now, that's if you're in a position, obviously, to be able to do those things. The fear of giving up control could be you. And the way to overcome that is that you have to eventually just go, yes, it's fine. Put that in my calendar. But I can always say no. And the answer to saying no, and this is going to be the answer for a lot of people, is coming up a little bit later in this particular presentation. So the stop thinking and get started part is where you're trying to develop a little bit of discipline to get past that natural tendency you've got to overanalyze and to overthink. So if you're an overthinker and an overplanner and you don't trust your own opinion and you're getting lots of other opinions from lots of other people before you take a first step in something, then this one could be you. It's just to get started in this case. You just have to get started. Planning and opinions can often waste a lot of time. And this is, say, for instance, something which your original plan was to deliver something in week 1, but you do an original plan and you rework it and think it again, then you send it off to Sunil in week 3, and Sunil gives his opinion back to you, which makes you rework it in week 4. And then week 5, you get Carmen's opinion on it. And then by week 6, you get Carmen's stuff back, and then you're reworking again. And by finally in week 7, you're in a position to execute the original plan just 1 week before the client said they needed this done by. So instead of spending that 7 weeks designing and delivering that particular product that you said you were going to do, you've spent all this time just asking for people's opinion and doubting your original plan, which you essentially should have executed in the first place. So opinions, they can be very valuable if you honestly don't know what you're doing. If you're qualified and experienced in what you're doing, you know what you're doing, you've made the plan, you know it's going to work, just execute the thing. You don't have to seek 13 other people's and a committee's opinion on that when it's your business. Just do it. Tidiness is an extremely valuable one, because this is something which I need to do all the time. It looks really tidy behind me here, but my desk is actually a mess this morning, but it's become a mess since I sat down at it. I've got a thing I do that actually clears my desk at the end of the day so that I've got a nice clean slate to start with in the morning. Tidiness is efficient because everything is where it's meant to be. So that might be that I know that pile of business cards that's sitting over there. There's a business card for Jeff in there somewhere. Surely I'll be able to find it somewhere. And those little cute stickers I'm going to put on the laptops there, somewhere under a pile over there. Remember, yes, you may know everything is in your mess, but it's a very, very inefficient way of searching for things. Keeping your desk as clear as possible is going to give you a habit that means that when you need to go and get something, you know exactly where to go and get that thing. Getting a habit of filing things digitally and paper as well. Keeping digital and paper files helps you to track and find things much more easy later on. If you want to know where that particular invoice is, if you go to your invoice folder in the filing cabinet under I for invoices, you'll be able to find it really, really quickly. You just got to get in the habit of putting everything in there. How does this relate to procrastination though? It means that if you've got a lot of steps you have to go through to change your pace to do something new, like cleaning up your desk and, oh, where's that thing that's going to help me with that? Everything that is an obstacle to you getting that job done is going to cause you to procrastinate. If you've got more things on your desk, it's more things that can distract you. And if I look at like the reality here is that I'm very easily distracted. So my desk is a tidal wave of distractions ready to crash down on me. So what I do is I spend a few minutes at the end of every day to tidy my desk up to get rid of the distractions. So I've got like a tax notice here that's screaming for my attention. I've got all these. What I do is go, you know what? This one, I've just got to say I'm dealing with this on Saturday. So I'm going to put that on Saturday and make that call. Great. That goes in the Saturday file. If I've got to deal with this one, is to file away my my traveling information to my next trip to Queensland. So I got to put that in the file for that. Get it off my desk. It doesn't need to be there because it's only there to get my attention when I've got, oh God, I've got to do that thing, right? If I put that into a calendar, like my Google Calendar that tells me when to actually address these things, I don't need them sitting on my desk. I've got a message in my calendar that says it's in the third drawer on the right if I need to find it when I actually need to action it. So having a filing system, putting notices in your calendar and reminders will make your life so much easier. There's times of the day, particularly in the low energy times of the day, when I have to turn my email off. I have to close Gmail and stop answering emails, stop getting emails through. There is nothing that's going to come through by email that needs my absolute immediate answer right here and now. If it does, and they definitely need my answer, they can call through on my phone and, you know, wrecking ball their way into my day in that way. There's usually nothing so important that requires me to answer it straight away on email. And particularly if I want to focus on something very specific, the last thing I need is my email screaming at me for attention. So another thing I've learned to do is to close browser tabs when I'm not using them, or group them together in Chrome. So what I'm going to show you is a little trick I've been learning in here. I'm just going to stop sharing this particular screen. Hello there. Bring up my Chrome screen that's actually got this on it, and it'll show you where I've done this little organizing of tabs. All right, so I'm going to bring up and share this screen now, and you'll see my calendar. So you'll see my multicolored calendar with lots of stuff in it. Yours may look similar or not. What I've done here is I've grouped together the tabs in Chrome to be, this is my emails. So when I turn off my email, I've still got it open. It's still there. I can still get into each of those email addresses, but I've got them tabbed together in a group so that when I'm not working on email, I forget about it. It's there, but I'm not seeing notifications pop up trying to get my attention. If I'm looking at my ASBAS stuff, I'm looking at, my client accounts, my logging into the system. I need to log in the calendar that's for that. I'm not using that right now. That's tabbed away in a group, and I'll address that when I've got time. I'm working on something for a particular client in Litchfield National Park. So I've got some stuff open for them, but I'm not working on them right now. I'm going to work on them later. And then this is a webinar topic that I'm working on, a little bit of research I'm doing on publishing audiobooks in very, very late February. So I'm not working on that right now, but I need it saved. So I've got it in a little group. What you do is, if I say, like, start up a new table here. So Eventbrite is something I work in all the time as part of the ASBAS program. Now, I'm not working on this right now, but I do have to go back to it very often. So what I will do is let's bring it to the managing the events that we're running. And I'm now going to put that in a group. If I right click on the tab and I add that tab to a group, it's going into ASBAS, which is where I want it to go. Now that's opening up all the things of ASBAS. I'm not working on ASBAS at the moment. I'm doing a webinar, so that gets closed. So it's still there. I can still access it, but it's taken all that stuff away and out of the way. So I'm not distracted by it. So I'm just working on my calendar, or I'm working on this particular presentation, and I'm talking to you at this particular time as well. So I'll get rid of that and bring back our presentation. That is a really good way to help me to not be distracted, because procrastination is so much that you can do. So I answered to Jackie on this one. It's not just in the calendar. That's everything. Any tab in Chrome, you can create a group of. So any single thing you want to do on there, you create a group, you name that group. So you right tab. So if you've got something open right now in Chrome, just right click on the tab and it'll have add to group. And then you go, it'll say, oh yeah, you don't have a group, create a group, and you can give it a color. So I tend to tab them together and group them together so I don't get distracted, because I am very easily distracted. I'm like a kitten with like a laser pointer. You give me a shiny object and I'll be running after it very shortly. So learning how to close browser tabs or grouping them when I'm not using them makes a massive difference to the efficiency of your day. And that you're going to have so much fun doing that, Jackie, trust me. And then focusing on the finish line. This can be the enemy of those who like to procrastinate, because procrastination can manifest itself in something called perfectionism. It's where someone has to spend so much time learning how to make something so perfect, they never actually get the job done. Excellence might be the excuse. You want to do an excellent job. An excellent job for you might be different from an excellent job for a client. Usually a client does not have the high expectations that you have of yourself. So perfectionism is a way to avoid you ever getting the work done. And if you're a perfectionist, the procrastination kicks in, because you go, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I can't do this perfect, so I'm just not going to do it yet. I'm going to do it in another day. Distractions, get your current work done first before you start something new. This is the worst thing that happens to me. And Mick, this was exactly why I got this little hack with Chrome, because I will see something come in on that email and I'll just go, oh, I need to jump on that straight away. Meanwhile, the thing I'm working on already gets forgotten about for an hour. I come back to an hour and go, oh crap, what was I doing? That's a form of procrastination too, because you don't actually want to do that work. If you really wanted to do that work, you wouldn't care about your email, it'd be gone. So shutting down your email, or at least shutting down the ability to see the email coming through because it's hidden behind a group of tabs, will make you get your attention off email and get your attention back onto the work at hand. And also rewarding yourself with a break. So I don't just take arbitrary breaks, for instance. I have to earn my breaks. So my coffee breaks happen when I finish a task, not at 10 a.m. because that's when I take a break. Although sometimes, I might be sitting down for too many hours and I need to stand up and walk around a bit. That's, helping me to stay focused. I'm not walking away from the work. I'm just going, my legs are hurting. I need to get up. That's not an excuse to go and make a coffee. The coffee break is something I earn when I've finished a task. That's what I've got to do. learning to say no when people drop into your desk if you're working in a shared workspace. And that's a skill in itself. And we're actually going to talk about the no thing very shortly too. And giving yourselves hard deadlines on how long you're supposed to spend on things, saying, if I'm creating this particular webinar that I'm doing, I've got 2 hours to build it. That's all. It's actually going to cost me more in time than I'm getting paid for it. So therefore I need to get it done in 2 hours. So it's worth the money I'm getting paid. It's not actually causing me to have a loss. So when you start thinking in terms of deadlines based on how much time you're getting paid for, so if you've got a budget of $200 to this and you're valuing your time at $100 an hour, you've got to get that done. The quicker you get it done, the more money you're being paid. Now, that's a really good motivation to not procrastinate. The shorter amount of time you spend on it, the more you're getting paid for it, because you get paid regardless of what it's going to take. You've just got to go, well, I either get it done in the 2 hours of quota or I get it done in 1 hour and I get an hour for free. Bonus. Beating the time wasters. They are there hovering all around you. Sometimes they're people, sometimes they're things, sometimes they're social media. Usually they're social media. If you get bored or tired, you like to take a break to check on email. So you go, oh, this is so boring. I need a break. So you pop into your email and then you answer 20 emails, and then an hour later, your task that you were doing is not done and you're falling behind. So you get started again, but you spend time then having to catch up to where you were before you actually took the 20-minute break and started answering 20 emails. And it slows you down yet again. So the procrastination of getting bored or getting tired or going and trying something else or going, oh, I'm so bored. That seems more interesting. Let's go and do that. Doesn't just cost you the time that you've gone off into the ether and being distracted for. Say if you go and get distracted for an hour on YouTube, you're not just losing an hour. You're losing an hour plus probably the next 20 minutes of trying to get yourself back into the mindset of where you were on that project you were working on. The procrastination and the distraction thing work hand in hand to destroy your workday. They'll absolutely eat it alive, which is why, again, Mick and Jackie, why I've actually got those tabs all grouped in there, because I am so bad at it. In fact, I have to close down things like Facebook. I have to take my phone and turn it upside down on my desk because the notifications on it are so distracting. So if I need to actually concentrate on something, sometimes what I need to do is I need to go and pick that phone up and put it in another room so it's away from me. And then if in 2 hours time I go, oh, where's my phone? Oh, I can go and grab it then if it's the appropriate time to do it. You don't have to answer every call as it comes in unless your business relies upon that. And you certainly don't have to answer every email as it comes in. They are time wasters ready to pillage your day. So to beat those time wasters, things like checking email is my big one. Checking social media is another big one. I feel a bit tired. Oh, let's pop into Facebook and see what someone's saying. Or I'll pop into LinkedIn and see what some expert's saying about something or who's commenting on my stuff. But the other big one for me is news websites. For instance, I was just curious a little bit early this morning. I was like, oh, that's right. But it must be time for Joe Biden to take over his inauguration and become the president. I want to see if anything went wrong or there's been a bomb or anything. I got curious. So I checked on the news website. And then eventually I got onto a page. It was something about how to lose weight using this one weird trick. I went there to find out about Joe Biden, and I ended up spending half an hour going down into a whole of news articles. You've got to understand when you go to news websites and social media and those websites, they are designed to keep you on their websites. So if you get distracted enough to get into them, they're going to hook you in and you're going to get stuck there. You're going to lose hours of time. For the procrastinator like you and I, the person who likes to put things off because we don't necessarily want to do them, or we're easily distracted, or we fear that someone else is taking control of our lives, or we've got some sort of attitude against people scheduling work for us. News websites, social media, email, they are our big enemies. You may have another enemy. It might be called your kids. So there's some little things that might have some way of you being distracted or taken away from what your work is. It's adding into your procrastination. Your other time wasters could be family and friends during the day, especially, who like to phone you at work or in your business. Mum, I've told you before, I work during the day. I know you're retired. I know you don't work and you get bored and you want to hear from your son. That's fine. That happens after 5 p.m, Mum. I love you. I adore you. But remember, when you were working, we couldn't call you at work either, could we? Huh? So you're letting your family and friends know it's not cool to call you at 2:30 in the afternoon just because they've finished work. You finish work at 5, that's when you call. So you have to train people how to treat you. And it's a big thing when it comes to family, because you go, oh, the family calling, it's very important. It's very important. Yeah, it is. It's important after 5 p.m. All right. Unless it's absolutely urgent. So if the friends and family know, do not call me during the day unless it's life and death, and they start calling you because they want to ask you what size shoe you are so they can buy you a gift. As sweet as that is, it's an annoyance that's going to lead to a massive dent in your day. Your co-workers. The number one way to get rid of your co-workers is to get these things, these headphones, and you just put them in your ear and you go, here we go. Suddenly, I'm busy doing something. I'm not to be distracted. And it's amazing what a difference that makes. It works when people are asking for money from you on the street, when you're in shopping centers and those people are trying to sign you up for a charity. All those guys, they tend to ignore you when you've got your headphones in. It's a magical trick. It's like straight from Harry Potter. It's like you've got the cloak of invisibility on you. It's just do it. It's a great trick. Even if you're not listening or anything, don't even plug them in. I often just tuck the tag of it in my pocket so that I don't actually have anything plugged in. I was just letting people around me know that I'm focused on something and don't disturb me, because they disturb you. You have, what? And they know that they're annoying you, and no one actually necessarily wants to do it. Keep your headphones close. It's a great way of getting other people away from you, keep you on task so that you don't get easily distracted and then procrastinate even further. Personal reading material on here. Now, I used to have a magazine in here I like picking. I can't even find it anymore, which is a really good piece of news, because I did what I said I was going to do, which is remove the Harvard Business Review magazine from my desk. Because what I would do, I get people to pick up the magazine and start flicking through. Oh, I haven't read this bit yet. Oh, that's very interesting. Oh, Elon Musk is doing some crazy new thing. I get really excited about the fact that I read a magazine because it's a business magazine, and therefore it's very important, and I need to know what's going on in business. Trouble is, it's not my business I'm reading about, someone else's business. Meanwhile, no one's working on my business. So the procrastination setters and time wasters like that, get rid of books, get rid of magazines, get rid of catalogs off your desk. They belong on the kitchen bench or somewhere else, or in the bin usually if it's a catalog. And these unnecessary meetings, they are the killer too. To keep your meetings to a point and important and worthwhile, make sure they're on time. If you are in the meeting and one other person's there and there's 5 other people yet to be arriving and they're not there and it's right on time for the meeting, start the meeting without them. Just start it. Get it going. Don't wait for them. Just start. You've got time. Don't give it up easily. Go in with an agenda. So it's like, oh, we're having a meeting. So what are we looking to achieve? What are we getting out of this? No, straight up front. It's not just we're just having a catch up. There's no such thing as having a catch up. That's called grabbing a coffee. That's called grabbing lunch. If it's just a catch up, it's not a meeting that's necessary. So start to put those out, because meetings are a great way to procrastinate, because you've got a great excuse. Oh, I couldn't get that done because I've been in meetings all day. Oh, I couldn't get that done because my boss keeps calling in for meetings. Always have a meeting based upon an important factor, not just because this is when you have a meeting. So it's got to be on time, it's got to be with an agenda, and you've got to have an action plan at the end. Otherwise, it's not a meeting, it's a conversation. And let's face it, not all of us want to have lots of conversations in the workplace. Now we want to keep your priorities in focus, the things that are important. You have a priority, it has a deadline, it's important. And then another priority drops in, it's also important. What are you doing? Now you're behind on both because you've been overwhelmed. You don't know what to do. So it's easier to go, oh, I've got too many things coming at me. I'm just going to take a break and have a coffee and go and have a chat by the water cooler. Maybe find out what Jan's been doing with the kids, whether Jodie's gone to college yet. You find reasons to avoid it. You'll procrastinate because there's lots of priorities coming in. Nothing's getting done, and you've got a great excuse why nothing's getting done. What you need to do to avoid those distractions coming through is clearly define what you want to get out of your day. So you go in and set yourself a goal, because goals keep you focused. You say, I need to finish this report by the end of the day. Then you stay focused on that, going, well, yeah, sure, I can take this 5 minutes out for this meeting, but the problem is I've still got to finish this report at the end of the day. You've got to make them measurable. So if you make your goals measurable, such as I need to finish it by the end of the day, it has to be done. Or if I need to write these 300 words by the end of the day for this particular blog entry or my new podcast episode, then you have 300 words that need to be written by the end of the day. These kind of things are very specific. They're very measurable. They keep you focused on a goal to get in the day. And every day you should be setting new ones. You've got your big picture goals, your big business plan, your visions, your missions, your elevator pitches, all that sort of stuff as a business. But procrastination is going to be something that affects every single day. Those things are long-term plans. So you need a goal for every day. You do that in a calendar. You do that by setting out your day. Now, you saw my calendar. Everything is in that calendar that I have to do today. Nothing that I get to do today is not in that calendar. And if it drops in, I have to set what's called reactive time. I give myself 2 hours every day of what's called reactive time. That's when the emails come in. That's when the phone calls can come in. I answer them all. My reactive time is from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. this afternoon. That's when I'm going to answer the phone, respond to the phone calls with text messages and book in times. I don't want to be taking immediate phone calls because it doesn't actually achieve anything. It just wrecks my day. And it's nothing that comes through that's that important that I can't answer it by booking a call. So what I usually do is I get back to them at 5 p.m. and I go, please book in a time at this calendar link and we'll be able to discuss it. They go off the calendar link, they select the time that's available on my calendar that suits them, none of this backwards and forwards, and they haven't interrupted my day and caused me to have a big problem. This was a big problem for me, which is why I have to be like such a fascist regime about it now. I have to be super, super dictatorial about it because I know what it can do to wreck my time and wreck my day and week. It may sound like I'm being bratty about it and saying, well, everyone else has to fall in line with my work, but that's because I know how bad I can get. They're not going to get good work done unless I kind of shoehorn everybody into my process. Now, some people will refuse to do that. No, I want a phone call. Get good, book the phone call. That's how you attract. If they don't want to deal with me the way I want to be dealt with, I have to kind of say, well, you might have to find work for someone else. You might have to work with someone else. And I'm happy to let that go. If that client's going to be super demanding, then they're going to be a cause of procrastination for me in the future. Because every time their work comes up, I'm going to put it off and put it off and put it off because I know that they're, pardon my French, they're arseholes to work with. So you split your day between the low, medium, and high priority things to do, and then actually deal with them in order of that priority. Put your high priority stuff into those high energy parts of the day. Put your low priority stuff into the low energy parts of the day. It's really simple. Even in your calendar, you can actually color code different areas, and you can say, okay, from this particular area I know is traditionally my high energy part of the day, color code that part of the day to be red for high energy, and then schedule those things in for their high energy time. And if you go, ooh, that person wants that meeting in a low energy time, I'm going to ask them to reschedule that into a high energy time. So you've got a way of making sure that you run your day and your day doesn't run you. That's the very important thing. That's what coming into being a planner makes you do. When you set a plan and update it, you see what works and what doesn't work, but you're always updating the plan. It's called agile management. And you're managing your calendar in an agile way. Just because the plan says I must do all these things in this order today doesn't mean there's room to sort of fudge things around a little bit. But start early in the day to do that. Set your priorities for the day really early. I know exactly where I need to be and when today. I know exactly how long it's going to take me to jump on a Neuron scooter and go to the other end of town to go to this particular lunch. So I'm going to be in exactly 45 minutes. So I know that I've got plenty of time to do that. Change my shirt, spray some deodorant on and go for it. But then at the end of your day, you start on tomorrow's plan. So while the ideas are still fresh, even if you're at a low energy level, the last thing you do of the day is I tidy my desk and then I get tomorrow's plan into the calendar. I just confirm what everything's doing and I go, yep, I'm set. I know what's happening tomorrow. So I'm not going to wake up tomorrow morning and go, oh my God, this day is going to be a mess. It gives me a chance late in the day to go, that day is a mess. I need to clear one thing out of there because it's too full. That allows me to get ahead of it rather than letting my day doesn't run me, I run my day. Even though my calendar is running me, it's me determining what goes in there in what order. It takes some organization. I'm not going to lie to you. That might be something that comes a bit hard to you, but it does make a massive difference when you can make it work. So how I carry out my particular plan is my calendar is my guide. My calendar is my boss. If it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist. I then use a system called Trello. If you've ever seen it or used it, it's like a to-do, doing, and done list where you can put all the tasks you need to do in one column. And then when you pick up that one task, you put it into this next column when you're working on it. So you've only ever got one or two things you're working on at one time, and you've got to get those things done before you can kick them off to the next column, which is the done column. So when you're doing that, You're actually keeping track of everything, and you can actually see the big list of stuff that's coming up from the beginning that needs to work over into the other columns. I keep mine very, very simple: to do, doing, done. And that helps me to manage those more complex projects that are going on. The first thing I do in the morning is I check my calendar. And the last thing I do at the evening is I fill up my calendar. So I fill up what is to do work. I leave my 2 hours of reactive time to be able to work that in. And that helps me to avoid procrastinating on things, because I've got specific times to deliver specific outcomes. I have no room for procrastination. Even though I'd love to be able to sit down and read a magazine or have an extra coffee break or all that, if I fill up the time with tasks that have to be done in that time, that cannot be avoided in that time, I have not got room for procrastination. So it's almost like, they say the idle hands are the devil's playground. So the idea is to not leave yourself any of those idle times, except for your lunch break, lunch break or morning tea or afternoon tea. That's when you get to procrastinate, right? That's structured procrastination for those of us who like to have a break. And this is a big one, Jackie. I have a feeling this might be your one, learning how to say no. This is a big one for me. And when I achieved it and I got over it, oh my goodness, this one changed my life, because it's a real trap in saying yes. You want to be a yes person because you want to be a nice person. You want people to like you. You want people to feel good about dealing with you. And you want to be the person that anyone can come to and ask for help and advice. Codswallop. It's rubbish. It's a lie. It's a trap. You will, before you even know it, you're going to be the person who's overwhelmed. Now, I'm not telling you to become a horrible person. I'm not telling you to become, that no to everything and that everything has to be no. But if you're constantly saying yes, you're constantly in overwhelm. You're drowned in work. You're drowned in tasks, and you're not doing any of it well. And you become that woman who's the unreliable woman, or you become the guy who's the guy that you cannot rely upon because he's always overwhelmed, and don't bother asking him. He'll never get it done because he's always over-promising and under-delivering me. That is not the person you want to be. The yes person, that's exactly what happens to them. The yes person is stuck in a hole and they cannot get out. So how you're saying no is you have to understand, you have to value your own time. Every hour of your day is highly valuable, and you are in control of that. You give yourself permission to say no because they're your hours. The workplace might be paying for them. The contractor, your client may be paying for those hours. They're still your hours. So you've got to hold on to them. They're precious for getting stuff done. If someone wants to come and take some of that time, they need to either pay for that time or they have to schedule that time in. And honestly, so many problems go away when you say, look, I can't do this now. Can you hop on my calendar? You hop on my Calendly thing. I'll send you the link. And can you please just book that in? That will get rid of so many problems. You're not making yourself a no person. You're making yourself a no and person. So no, and you can go and book it all in there. I've still given you a way to do it. It's just not going to be right now. You don't have to give it up because you're not letting anyone down. You don't have to give away all your time to people who are constantly demanding it, because if you don't promise anything, you're not having to deliver anything, and you're not letting anyone down. You're just stopping it at the source and going, I can't do this right now. Go and book it in my calendar. And I've got, I think from memory, I've got some availability late Friday. Then they'll just go away. They'll figure, oh no, I could probably figure this out for myself. And everything goes on as normal. Procrastination is something that comes from you wanting to be a yes person. By being a yes person, you've got excuses. When you've got excuses, you've got reasons and stories you can tell as to why you didn't do that thing. The biggest lie is that that's not going to cut it. You're still not going to be able to get away with not doing the work just because you're busy. You're busy because you're not managing your time, or you're allowing people to overwhelm you with their work. Remind yourself why you have to turn down requests. This stops you from being an absolute no. You're not going to be someone who's just awful to everybody. You're not going to be just a no person. Just remind yourself why. When you do make that and you say to someone, look, I can't do this now. Just go and check my calendar. Might be something tomorrow. You're not being nasty. You're not being horrible. What you're being is someone who's trying to take control of your life and your work. You're trying to get your work done. Be logical in your answers, not emotional. So when you answer to someone, look, I can't do this now. Just try and get into my calendar and book in a time for tomorrow. Highly factual, highly logical, no emotion. You're not going, oh, look, I don't have time for this right now. Look, I'm stressed. I'm worried. Just go and book it in a calendar. You're not doing that. Keep it calm, be logical. Good reasons don't need a whole lot of stories around them. You don't have to create a story around saying no. We often feel like when we say no, we need to make some kind of story around it. I was late this morning to work because, you know, the kids were mucking up. There was traffic on the freeway. I had to drop in to get a coffee and I ended up dropping the coffee. And then we create this whole story when the whole point is, sorry, I was late. That's it. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. This will change your life. It will absolutely change your life when you stop having to explain everything away. I'm late because. Try starting, I'm late or I won't get this done, but try and do that. I won't get this done in time and I'm doing something about it by getting it done tomorrow. Is that okay? You're not creating a whole bunch of stories around it. No one cares about your stories. No one cares about your kids mucking up. No one cares that you dropped your coffee and had to go and get changed because you got it all over your crisp white shirt. No one cares. Just get away from the stories and just say, I was late. Long story, I was late is often enough to get them saying, oh yeah, I don't want to hear the long story, but thanks for letting me know that you were late. So be logical, not emotional, remove the stories from everything. You don't need to create a story around it because you've actually had to use up so many calories of brain power to make up that story. The consequences of commitment to things is that you have to commit to a particular project to get it done in time, right? So you've got something like that. You go, oh yeah, I need to be able to get that done by Friday at 3 p.m. Great. So everything else that's coming in that's stopping you from getting to that is actually making you break your commitment. It's risking you by not getting that thing done at 3 p.m. You have made commitments, right? In the past, in last week, this week, by moving around to create new commitments, you're creating a pattern. And that pattern is that, yeah, sure, come to my desk and invade my day because I don't really value the work I do that much. So you can come in and give me more valuable work because, you know, these projects I'm doing, yeah, stuff it, I don't really care. I'll move those out of the way. That sounds dramatic, but it's essentially what you're doing when you're allowing people to reschedule your work for you. Don't have to answer everything now. Remember that. People coming to your desk is not permission for them to start railroading your day. You don't have to answer every request that comes to you on the spot. That's just an excuse to procrastinate and give you a reason to then continually avoid doing the work you don't want to do. And then offer alternatives though. Like I said, you don't have to be a nong. You don't have to be a complete a-hole to everybody who comes to you that you're saying no to. You just go, I can't do this right now. And if you just go into my calendar, you'll be able to book a time that I am available. I'm unable to answer that right now for you. And if you come back a little bit later at 2 when I'm on my lunch break, come and grab me then and I'll be able to answer it for you then. Give people an alternative. Don't just shut them down because even though it's your day and it's your hours and they're very valuable, they're also people that you need to work with and occasionally you have to ask them some stuff too. So let's have a bit of a recap on procrastination. What's behind it? Could be fear of failure. It could be fear of loss of control. It could be you just get easily bored and it's very easily distracted, a bit like me, or you get easily overwhelmed with something. You can beat procrastination through things like tidiness, working your best, most energetic hours, getting some extra help without having to go too far and going a whole committee to comment back on the things that you're completely capable of doing. They all help you to gain a little bit more discipline. And as you practice it and practice it and practice it, you'll get better at it and better at it and better at it. It's all about breaking the habit, organizing your time into your day, eliminating the things that waste your time, clear your desk, set priorities for your day, become a planner. It's a very important thing. If you're not using Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar to plan everything in your day, you are letting your day run you. So make sure you set the terms of how your day runs and learn to say no, not as a nasty person, but as someone who's got logical reasons without having to enter into a grandiose story every time you do it. Because remember, no one cares about your story. They just care about getting the job done. So thank you so much. It's about time for you to get back to work and for me to go and get my lunch. I've got enough time to get changed and have a shower in a can and head off to my little lunch networking meeting. You can book more webinars like this one at businessstation.com.au. My email, if you want to reach out, is on the screen. So type that one down and you can follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, where I'm loading this one up in the next probably about 3 hours now. Be about 2 hours at this lunch, one of those long boozy lunch kind of scenarios that I've planned for. Nobody has taken this up. I'm not procrastinating anything to go to this. It's an important part of my month every month. Just clarifying that, telling a story. You can reach out to me and I'd love to chat to you on any of those mediums. For now though, get the heck back to work and stop procrastinating, because there's work to be done and you can control your day. Have a great week and a great weekend coming up as well.